Can the living really communicate with the dead? This question has intrigued humanity for centuries. Let's delve into the annals of history to find out more. In the ancient civilizations of Babylon and Egypt, as well as among the Hebrews, the practice of necromancy was not uncommon. A widespread belief in the ability to contact spirits pervaded these societies. Various methods were employed in an attempt to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. These ranged from ritualistic ceremonies to the use of mediums, individuals believed to possess the unique ability to converse with spirits. Despite the diversity in methods, the underlying goal remained the same: to seek guidance, wisdom, or comfort from those who had passed into the realm of the dead. As we can see, the fascination with communicating with the dead is not a new phenomenon. It has been a part of human culture since ancient times. But what does the Bible have to say about this? Interestingly, it has quite a bit to say, and it's not in favor of necromancy. From ancient Babylon and Egypt to certain periods of Hebrew history, necromancy, or the practice of communicating with the dead, has been a recurring theme. Yet the Old Testament sends a stark warning against this practice. It condemns consulting with familiar spirits and necromancers, labeling these actions as sinful and futile. One of the most famous biblical accounts illustrating this warning is the story of Saul consulting the medium of Endor. This tale has sparked considerable debate, with interpretations varying widely. Some suggest it was an elaborate hoax, a spectacle created to deceive. On the other hand, others believe it involved a genuine appearance of the deceased prophet Samuel. Despite the controversy, the overarching message remains the same: the Bible does not endorse necromancy. This biblical perspective suggests that such practices are not just sinful, they are also pointless. According to the scriptures, the dead are unaware of earthly events. They cannot provide guidance or insight into our lives. They've moved beyond the mortal realm, and any attempt to reach them is ultimately fruitless. Despite these stern warnings, the belief in communicating with the dead persists in the modern world. Let's take a closer look. Today, a striking number of people claim to have had some form of contact with the deceased. Surveys reveal that a significant percentage of Americans, for instance, profess to have experienced such encounters. This is not an isolated phenomenon, but rather a part of a broader cultural shift. A resurgence of interest in ancient practices like necromancy, now rebranded and repackaged for the New Age movement. New Age spirituality, an eclectic mix of Eastern and Western philosophies, esotericism and self-help psychology, has embraced necromancy as a means to seek guidance, comfort, or simply a sense of connection with those who have passed on. This modern-day necromancy often takes the form of spirit channeling, mediumship, or the use of tools like Ouija boards. But like all beliefs, this one too faces its share of skepticism and criticism. The scientific community, for example, largely dismisses these experiences as psychological phenomena, attributing them to grief, wishful thinking, or even hallucinations. Religious authorities often echo the biblical warnings against necromancy, decrying it as sinful and futile. And yet, despite the skepticism and criticism, despite the warnings and dismissals, the belief persists. It is perhaps a testament to the enduring human desire to understand the unknown, to seek solace in the idea of continued existence, and to maintain connections that death has seemingly severed. So, the question remains, can the living really communicate with the dead? Some seem to think so, but the Bible tells us the answer is no. From ancient civilizations to modern societies, the desire to communicate with the dead has been a constant. As we've journeyed through time, we've seen the fascination with necromancy persist, from the Babylonians and the Egyptians to a significant number of modern-day Americans. The Bible, however, presents us with a different perspective, warning against the consultation of familiar spirits and necromancers. It suggests that such practices are not just sinful, but also futile. Remember the biblical account of Saul and the medium of Endor? The interpretations vary, with some arguing it was a hoax, while others believe it was a real appearance of the prophet Samuel. Despite the differences in interpretation, the overall biblical message is clear. Attempts to contact the dead are condemned. Even today, the allure of communicating with the departed continues to stir curiosity and controversy. It's a question that, despite centuries of exploration and debate, remains shrouded in mystery. Whether or not the living can communicate with the dead is a question that continues to intrigue us. And perhaps that's the most fascinating part of all, the mystery, the unknown, and our unending quest to understand it. But if we accept what God's word teaches on the matter, it is clear that no one is communicating with the dead.